So it is visible now. Okay. So brief history of electric power. Let us start from 1880s. In 1880, Edison introduced the Pearl Street DC system, which was supplying 59 customers. It was the first power system distribution system. Then in 1884, DC motor was invented. Further, in 1885, transformer. In 1880s, late 1880s, Tesla invented an induction motor. Further, in 1893, the first three-phase transmission line started operating at 2.3 kilovolt. This was the first AC transmission line. It was commissioned in 1893. Further, in 1900s, private utilities supply all customers in area. So, in this way, the power system distribution started expanding. It was in 1900. Then 1920 around, large interstate holding companies used to control most of the electrical power systems. Then in 1930s, utilities established as vertical monopolies. Now, what is this vertical monopoly? That I will just explain over here. Can you see this slide, vertical monopoly? So this was the history. History continued. Then we were here up to vertical monopolies. Can you see this slide, sir? Vertical monopolies?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Right. Now, within this particular geographic market, the electric utility had an exclusive franchisee. Now, vertical monopoly, as all of you know, we all are power system engineers, and we know the entire power system structure, starting from the generation to consumers. Whatever the power generated in the power plant, it is how it is transmitted and distributed to the customers. That you know, there are various transmission network, then distribution networks, right? So power generated in the generation plant comes to the consumers through transmission and distribution networks. Of course, this is in a vertical operation. And that's why this is termed as a vertical monopoly operation. The old power systems, the earlier power systems, they were operating in a vertical mode. Okay, generation, transmission and distribution and customers, all they were happened to be in a vertical line. In the sense, this was basically a regulated system. Okay, I will come to that later on. But as of this moment, we just remember that there were three different processes of power system operation, right? How the power is generated and it reaches to the consumers. Further, so continuing with this history, within its service territory, each utility was the only game in town, and neighboring utilities functioned more as colleagues than competitors. Okay, there were different utilities. They used to generate and transmit the power for their network, and whenever there was an excess power, it was shared with the other utilities. This was the earlier situation. You can take an example of our system, Indian power system. There are various grids. Okay, northern grid, eastern grid, western, right, southern grid. All grids are connected with each other, so you can call them as the territory. And whatever the power distribution, transmission distribution was taken place in a territory, in a particular territory, it was distributed, it was shared. Excess power or deficient power was shared from each other, shared to each other, right? For example, if western grid is facing some deficiency of power, there could be an import from the northern grid or Eastern Grid likewise. So sharing of power. Naturally, this was the earlier setup of the power system. This was happened in the earlier setups of the power system. Well, utilities gradually interconnected their systems by 1970. Transmission lines. If you look at the world scenario, in 1970, in North America, the voltages reached up to 765 kilovolt. So economies of scale keeping result in decreasing rates. So most everyone was comfortable with the transmission distribution of the power further. And the changeover process started in 1970. What happened in 1970? There was an inflation, because of which the increased fossil fuel prices, and further rates of electricity started increasing. Of course, there were some conservations about, well, we were up to 1970, right? Okay. So changeover process started in 1970. Continuously increased rates of electricity. Further, to control these issues, United States Congress passed this Act, Public Utilities Regulatory Policies Act, okay, in 78, because of which it was mandatory for utilities to purchase the power from independent generators located in the service territory or service area. Meaning of it is that whenever the power generation takes place in a particular area, and when it is required to be transmitted over the long transmission lines, what happens? Normally, there is a loss of power over the long transmission. As you know, the simple equation that more is the length of transmission line conductors, more will be the power losses. So this was so as to control it, so as to make the maximum utilization of the generated power. United States passed this act so that the utilities could purchase the power from independent generators located in the service territory. So it made these utilities to utilize the maximum power generated in their local area. It further introduced some competition. Then major opening of industries to competitions occurred as a result of National Energy Policy Act. All these are the legal things which I am telling you, may be boring to you, but all these things have to be understood properly. Further, this act mandated that utilities provide non-discriminatory access to the high voltage transmission. Okay. The goal was to set up true competition in the generation. Right. The result over the last few years has been a dramatic restructuring of the electric utilities industry. Further, energy bill in United States, energy bill of 2005 repealed old act, that is a modified PURPA, you can say. These are the various milestones of deregulation. Earlier, till 70s, the system was entirely regulated, completely regulated. Small changes in system from the history we can conclude like this. After 1970, few changes in power system operation and control started, and as a result, the entire deregulation process started throughout the world. And these are some milestones. In 1982, Chile was the first country. 1990, UK. Then 92, Argentina, Sweden, etc. 93, Bolivia, Colombia. 94, Australia. 96, New Zealand. 97, Panama. And 98, California, etc. Of course, in India, the process started in 2003 when the Electricity Act Indian Electricity Act 2003 was passed in Parliament, and then after the real in true sense, the deregulation process started in India. So just to summarize these various issues, what was the old setup of power system and the new setup of power system? In old setup, there was a vertical operation of power system. Generator units happened to be away from the load centers. Then there was a difficulty to meet the demand from consumers with the existing generation. Further, the cost of electricity was very high. This was an old setup of electrical power system. Now, what is the new setup of power system? So this is the most important change, that removal of monopoly. Okay? Introducing deregulation, increased reliability, then reduced prices of electricity, more options to power consumers to buy electricity. All these changes have been taken place in new setup of the power system. Can you see this slide? I hope everyone can see it properly.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
All
sir.
right. Yeah. Thank you. So let us now go in details of regulated and deregulated structure. Okay. Power industry development and recent trends. So concepts to be discussed in this slide, in this particular topic, regulation and deregulation. So regulation, as we have seen just now, the earlier setup being run with the regulation, laws and rules were set up to carry out the generation, transmission and distribution function. So earlier setup was being run with the regulation. So as I'm saying that in old setups, for example, if you take an example of a particular state, say Maharashtra. In Maharashtra, there was Maharashtra State Electricity Board. Or if you take an example of, say, Andhra Pradesh, there was a particular board, Andhra Pradesh State Electricity Board, or Uttar Pradesh State Electricity Board. So this particular board used to control all these processes: generation, transmission, and distribution. Okay, all the rights were controlled, or they were having the ownership with these governments or boards, right? Under regulation, government could control electrical power industry, or they could own and operate it as its utility. So this was what the structure in the regulated power system, which we are calling it as an old setup. Is that clear? What were the important characteristics of this regulated structure? Important characteristics were these regulated structures used to operate under monopoly franchisee. That means when we talk about Maharashtra State Electricity Board, this particular board was responsible to set up the generation plants, to transmit the power and distribute the power to the consumers. This is what we call it as the monopoly franchisee. There was obligation to serve, regulatory operation conforming to guidelines and rules to set up the government regulators, right? Least cost operation, minimum revenue requirement, assumed rate of return, difficult to separate the cost on generation, transmission and distribution. These were some important features of the regulated system, right? So all rights were with the boards which were owned by the governments, the state governments or maybe at national level. National level, you can say, for example, NTPC or NHPC. Okay, all these are the various utilities which are owned by the governments. This was a simple structure of a regulated power industry. Because unless we do understand the regulation, we cannot go for the deregulation. So first of all, we'll have to understand how exactly the regulated power system operates. Right? Can you see this slide now? Structure of a regulated power industry.
Sorry.
Okay.
Yes.
So the generation is a one part, transmission and distribution infrastructure another, and third is the customers. So you can see over here by blue arrow, energy flow is in the same direction, that is left to right. Information flow is a bidirectional, and money flow is again unidirectional, right? So energy flow and money flow, they are unidirectional. Please note this important point. Okay. Further, I have made a common bracket for generation, transmission, distribution infrastructure as a figure of that rectangle. In this, meaning of it is that these two of the sectors, they were owned by the particular board, right, which were owned by the governments. I'm giving repeatedly these examples: MSAB or APC, APIS, Andhra Pradesh State Electricity Board, or UP ACBC, right, or Delhi Electricity Board, whatever, right? So these boards used to have the entire control over the various functions as regards to generation, transmission, and distribution. So why deregulation? Some facts for sliding towards the deregulation. Highly increased use of electricity. In my first session, I just made this statement. The per capita electricity consumption in India specifically, it has increased a lot. Again, I would like to make more, use some more figures over here. In 1971, the per capita electricity consumption was only 79 kilowatt hours. 79 kilowatt hours per capita electricity consumption in 71. In 2000, it went to 264, almost 3 times. And from 2000 to 2020, it went to 1208. So you can imagine how drastically the use of electricity has increased in the last few years. If you look at, it's an exponential increase in the use of electricity. Actually, huge demand of electricity. There is a huge demand of electricity, and of course, to meet the increasing demand, generation also has to be increased, because power balance, all of you know, if this balance is not maintained, that means the generation of electrical power and the demand at the load side, if it is not properly balanced, what happens to frequency? Yes. when this balance is disturbed, the frequency is changed. For example, if generation is more and the demand is less, or load demand is less, in that case the frequency is increased. There are, of course, there are various controllers which bring this frequency to a standard frequency of 50 Hertz in India, as you know. On the other hand, if the load demand is increased and the generation is less, right, or supply is less, in that case the frequency goes down, which is also not accepted by the power system loads, because whenever there is a small change in the frequency, lot of industrial waste will come out. Hence, all the time this frequency must be maintained at constant value, right? So, in this way, so as to maintain the increasing demand, generation will also, planners have decided, generation must be increased, generated power must be increased to meet the increasing demand. Of course, there are various options to maintain this supply and demand. Probably few years back, if you remember, whenever there was increased demand, load demand, and when the generation was less, at that time what happened? Suddenly generation could not be increased at that time. If you look at the situation in 2000 or before that. So what the controlling or load dispatch centers used to do, they used to curtail the load. Okay, curtailment of load, which you call it as the load shedding. Okay, because generation was fixed at that time, it was used to be there at constant value, and of course, load it's a dynamic model. Load, electrical load is a dynamic model. So load demand, it used to continuously change. Accordingly, when it increased, then that of the generation level, the controlling authorities such as the load dispatch centers used to curtail the load so that the frequency could be maintained. But this is not advisable solution. Whenever ample generation capacity is having with us, why to curtail the loads? So for that, this deregulation policy made the planners and the power system operators and controllers to allow the private utilities, to allow the private participants for generating the electrical power. I will come to that later on, but these are the various reasons why we've had to slide towards the generation deregulation. So this is a new concept of power system, power industry with restructuring of laws and rules. Of course, there are no changes at all, because whatever the load flow studies which we used to carry out earlier, similar load flow studies we have to carry out right now, also in deregulation. Entire things, I mean the basic things have not changed. Only the approaches have been changed when we switched over to deregulation. Okay, deregulation can make it possible to divide the entire power system into different sectors: generation, transmission, and distribution. In the sense, the monopoly franchisee of monopoly operation is now totally broken in deregulation. Earlier in regulated system, there was a monopoly operation, monopoly or vertical operation of the power system, which we have seen just now, where a single board used to control all these activities. Now in deregulation, all these activities have been made separated. Okay, they are totally separate. Generation is separate, transmission, distribution is separate. All are in different sectors. Major reforms in power industry due to deregulation. These are certain important reforms. Separation of transmission and distribution activities from the generation. This is the most important reform. Increased the number of generation companies which could transmit the power over the same network. Okay. Because of this deregulation policy, private generation companies were permitted to generate their power and transmit over the same transmission network. Probably you might be knowing that nowadays so many private power producers have established their own power plants. In our area, Reliance Power Plant, for example, or Adani Power Plant, Tata Power, all these big players have entered into generation. Okay, they started their own power plants and they are uploading their powers to the transmission network. Right. This is just because of the deregulation. Why to go with to these big players? Even as a domestic consumer, even we can start our own power plant. You can say, you can ask, how can it be possible? Yes. Rooftop solar grid, solar power plant, probably you must be knowing. If I am having my own terrace, right, at my home, I can set up my solar power plant on my terrace, right? And the amount of power which is generated through these solar photovoltaic panels, I can use that power for my requirement, and rest of the power I can upload to the grid. Okay, this policy and this type of there are various meters which are installed everywhere. We call them as reverse power meters. Okay, so the amount of power which is generated by this solar photovoltaic can be utilized by the individual customers like me, and rest of the power can be sent back to the distribution and transmission network. So this is an important change, because of which the ample generation is now available, and that's why we can say that there is no deficiency of power. Even though the demand is increased, now the situation is like everywhere, that there are so many bigger thermal power plants. Various thermal power plants have to shut down their units. This is the situation. Why? What's the reason? Because the demand is less. I mean, generation is more. Of course, demand it's not less. It is continuously increasing, but it is definitely less as compared to the amount of total generation which is taking place over here in India. So this is the situation which I am telling you here. So there is no question of load sharing and all that, right? So consumers to get better options for utilizing the power, such as the power at better quality and better reliability and economy, right? So of course the situation will come when there will be 3 different meters at our home, just like your mobile SIMs. If many of you are having dual SIM mobiles, one SIM can be of Airtel, another can be of BSNL or Jio or any Idea, etc. Just like that, there can be 2 or 3 different energy meters at our home. Okay, one electricity meter may be installed by Tata, another may be of Reliance, third may be of our MSCDCL or whatever the government utilities doing it. Okay, this business. So there can be different options to the consumers in future. Of course, this is not the situation by today, but definitely after a few years, this situation will be there, that there will be different options available to the power consumers. And now the consumer will have to decide which of the power that consumer will have to opt, whether the consumer has to go for better quality or reliability or economy, right? So of course, these changes will take place. And if you look at the world scenario, these are the results which have happened in many of the countries. The prices of electricity have been reduced to 50% in the countries like Switzerland. These are the reports which are available. You can check at any time. So the prices of electricity have been reduced to 50% just due to deregulation policy. Now you can say why again? How can it be possible? So when this deregulation policy came up in Switzerland, number of wind power plants started establishing. Okay. Till then, Switzerland was entirely dependent on coal-operated power plant. But as soon as this deregulation policy was opened, number of wind power plants came up and they started supplying electricity to various loads. And wind power, as you know, it is free of cost. There is no raw material required as such, just with the exception of initial cost of installation. Just like solar power plant or wind power plants are there. This is possible in India also. In India, a lot of ample power, solar power is available. And if we start this using this power, definitely the prices will again go down in India also. So these are some results which are observed all over the world. Reduced service losses, removal of monopoly of local electric utility, improved reliability of entire system, increased competition among the power producers, separation of electricity bill into different components. The electricity bill which we can expect in future will be containing transmission cost, generation cost, and the distribution cost. This is a simple example of a deregulated power system. Here, REPs are there, retail electric providers. They may purchase the power from different power plants and they can distribute to the consumers. This is a sample example. Okay. Coming to this deregulation, again, continuing to this, what are the various entities in deregulated environment? Can you see this slide? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah. So Genco is one entity, Transco, then Disco. Genco stands for generation company, Transco transmission company, Disco for distribution company. Every of these company or entity will have its own responsibility. RESCO is Retail Energy Service Company. ISO is an independent system operator, which is an independent authority that will be responsible for entire operation and control of the entire systems. And we as the electrical engineers or power system engineers will have to play an important role as an ISO, because others are what you can say business of electricity is with this Genco, Transco, Disco, RESCO, etc. But as far as control, system security, everything, it will be lying with the ISO. Only technical people will be required to play their role. And customers are, of course, the end entity. Well, this is the structure of deregulated power system with various entities and the flows. Again, three flows are shown over here: energy flow, information flow, and money flow. You can see over here the energy flow, it is in one direction. Then information flow is bidirectional. And money flow is unidirectional as well as bidirectional. So this is the change that you can see over here. Okay. See, revenue is going from customers to RESCO as well as TRANSCO. Similarly, GENCO, generation companies, are paying to transmission companies and distribution companies. This was not happened in the earlier system, earlier regulated system. Okay, the entire structure is now changed. Okay, so this is how the changes are taking place. Of course, there are various certain laws and rules to control all these activities. This is the regulated system, how it is converted to deregulated system. Which left side you can see the regulated system. I had given the example of various territories. For example, Western Grid and the Southern Grid. Okay, Western Grid has certain loads and generation plants, etc., transmission networks, etc. Whereas Southern Grid has certain generation plants, loads, transmission and distribution networks, etc. Now they were independent territories earlier, and they used to exchange the power amongst them to tie lines. But in deregulated structure, now there is a single transmission company, or transmission network. To this transmission network, there are various generation companies and distribution companies connected. A simple example from regulation to deregulation. So deregulation, competition and monopoly, these are some markets: sellers market and the buyers market. Both are competitive. As of now, transmission and distribution companies, they are still operating in monopoly franchise. This is deregulated environment. Systems that facilitate the transaction between buyers and sellers, that controls the market, power market. There are three ways in doing so: the pool market, POOLCO, bilateral trading, and power exchange. These are three important market mechanisms, power market mechanisms. In POOLCO, that is pooling company, only one buyer, that is normally a government agency, purchases the power from lowest cost bidder and buys enough power from the bidder, right? This is what pooling company does, and then it supplies to the consumers through distribution companies or retail energy service providers. Next is the bilateral trading. In bilateral trading, there are independent sellers and buyers which make a deal to exchange the power. In the sense, suppose I am having my own industry in Nagpur, and my requirement is, say, 100 megawatt power. Say from tomorrow or from midnight, from today midnight, I need 100 megawatt power for next 4 days. And suppose I am getting, I checked that various power producing generation companies are there all over India, and I'm seeing that one company in say Delhi, generation company, is ready to supply 100 megawatt power to me, to my industry. Okay, from today midnight with the minimum rate. Again, of course, I will compare the rates of power, and I find that the company which is settled in Delhi is ready to supply 100 megawatt power at the lowest rate to my industry. So definitely I can have the contract with this generation company. My requirement is 100 megawatt. That generation company is ready to supply 100 megawatt at so and so time and date. Of course, these are the requirements. The ISO, now the role of ISO is to check what will happen to the network, because whatever the power that I am going to purchase, it is over the same network to which I am connected, and that generation company is also connected to the same network, right? So that generation company will upload the power at a particular time and date. At the same time and date, I will just draw or download the power for my industry. Same power, 100 megawatt power will be uploaded and 100 megawatt power will be downloaded at the same time and date. Of course, the ISO has to check after uploading this 100 megawatt power and downloading it by the consumer, whether there will be any security issues or anything happens to the network. So all these things will be checked by the ISO, and if this is possible, then this contract will be approved. Okay, purchasing of the 100 megawatt power by the consumer, which is sitting at Nagpur, can be possible by carrying out the various analysis by the ISO. If it is okay, then ISO will approve it, and then there will be exchange of power. So this type of trading is called as bilateral trading. Then comes the power exchange. Power industry to establish the trading exchange between the buyers and sellers. Buyers and sellers enter their need and the transaction with the power exchange. It is just like the stock exchange. Okay, stock market, probably many of you must be knowing. Okay, so buyers and sellers enter their need of power transaction over the power exchange. So this is called as power exchange market, right? So this is the simplest model of tomorrow's power industry, right? There will be independent system operator which has to control these three enclosed power interface. Power interface covers transmission and distribution network and the load center. Okay. So this is how the power industry is changing. Power system is changing, and we can say that, in fact, as far as India is concerned, the changes have started taking place in 2003 onwards, when this act was passed. As far as our state is concerned, Maharashtra is concerned, there are three different entities. Okay, Mahagenco, for example, generation company. It is owned by Mahagenco. Then Transco, that is Mahatransco, Maharashtra Transmission Company, and Mahadiscom, that is Maharashtra Distribution Company. Okay, and there is an independent system operator. As of today, load dispatch centers, they are working as the independent system operators. Now there are, of course, with this, I will come to network congestion later on, but with the new operation, new requirements of this power system demands the IoT and SCADA. With the application of IoT and SCADA, so many things are happening. It's a step beyond SCADA. Of course, IoT SCADA. It provides real-time signal acquisition, data logging. Probably many of you must be knowing that where IoT can be used in various applications of power system. Smart metering is one of them. IoT smart meters are installed at so many places. IoT-based building operations, IoT-based solutions provide efficient way for monitoring and control of electrical systems, lighting systems, elevators, etc. They can be operated from a remote place. Lighting. All these are the applications of IoT. And smart grid. Of course, this is permitted just because of the deregulated policy. These things have come. AI applications in power system. I will just skip because the time is less. AI applications in power system with planning, operation, and analysis modeling of these things. In planning, as you know, the expansion of generation, transfer, and distribution network, AI can be applied, AI can be used. So many algorithms which can be carried out just by feeding the data, and the planning, perfect planning can be possible to design the power systems. Similarly, in operations, plant generation, scheduling, because as like the generation, as like the load, generation is also dynamic. Previously, generation was a little bit almost constant. I mean, there were fixed amount of generation from the various power plants. All right. For example, the power plant which is near to Nagpur is having a capacity of 2000 megawatt power generation. Okay, that plant, when it is fully utilized, it used to supply the fixed amount of 2000 megawatt power. But when the renewable generation plants came up, the entire generation has become dynamic. This model, it is a dynamic model, right? For example, solar power plant or wind, all they depend upon the natural conditions, climatic conditions. How much is the solar radiation? No one can predict properly, right? So it is dynamic in nature. Generation is dynamic in nature, just like the load. So for tackling these issues, AI is very important. Similarly, analysis and modeling of power flow harmonics, stability, protection, etc. Further distributed generators. As I have given this example that there could be a number of generation. There have been a number of private power plants are there and which are connected to the grid, to the distribution infrastructure or transmission infrastructure. So even if you talk about our area, residential area, there you will find that there are various solar photovoltaic power plants which are installed at the domestic consumers, rooftops of domestic consumers. So every domestic consumer is a power producer. And when these generators, they are connected to the grid, definitely various issues have come up. They have to be, their controls, their management is very important. And how to maintain the frequency at constant value, how to maintain the voltage at constant value. There are number of issues. So AI will be essential in controlling this. Distributed storage is another, then digital grid, digital hardware controls are used over here. Further, electric vehicles are coming up. Definitely the new avenues are open for use of electricity and operation of power system again. Well, I will just take this. These are various issues in network congestion. Network congestion, I will just have a quick look. Transmission network congestion, how to tackle it. There are various parameters as regards to network conditions. Let us discuss it from two different aspects. Number one, the economic aspect, and second is the technical aspect. Just take this example. How the congestion takes place. First of all, let's go through these two figures. Figure 1. Can you see these two figures? And then hello.
Sir. Yes, sir. We are able to see the figures.
Okay, thank you. So the first figure. Hello. Hello. Yeah. The first figure represents the line with no transfer limit, resulting the cost of power as $8,000 per hour. Okay. Just imagine that there are two generators A and B. A generator has a capacity of 200 megawatt. B also is having a capacity of 200 megawatt. And the cost of power is mentioned over here. For A it is $40 per megawatt hour. For B it is $80 per megawatt hour. Load is same, 100 megawatt. Here also 100 megawatt. Now, in this case, the line which is connected between A and B is not having any transfer limit, or limit is too high, that it will take easily this 100 megawatt power. It will handle this 100 megawatt power very easily. In this case, what will happen? What is the cost of power? If you look at the economic power flow analysis, 100 megawatt load demand is at this local A, as far as A is concerned, it is local load. For B, again there is 100 megawatt local load. Total demand is 200 megawatt. Now, how this demand, how to cater this demand? 100 plus 100, that is 200 megawatt. So, generator A will supply almost 200 megawatt to the system. And that 200 megawatt will be supplied by A, out of which 100 will be shared by the local load and remaining 100 will be shared by the remote load, which is connected at B. This is remote load as far as A is concerned. Right? So 100 plus 100. In this way, total 200 megawatt load will be injected by the generator A. Actually, what will be the cost of generation in this case? 200 into $40. Right, that comes out to be $8,000 per hour. Right, this is the cost of power per hour. Right, but this is possible when there is no congestion. I mean, when there is no limit over this line between A and B.
Sir,
Hello?
your audio is breaking.
Hello? Hello?
Sir, your audio is breaking. Your audio, there is an audio problem with your side.
Okay. Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We can hear you now properly.
Okay. Just last 2-3 slides are there. Okay. I will come. So, can you see this slide? Network congestion.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. Now coming to second figure, the lower one. Now entire things are same. Only the line which is connected between A and B is having a limitation of 50 megawatt transfer limit. Okay. The line which is connected between A and B is having a transfer limit of 50 megawatt, beyond which the power transfer should not take place or cannot take place. Otherwise, this line will be overloaded. Now, when this is the situation, what will happen? You see, total demand is 100 plus 100, that is 200 megawatt. All right. Now, this total demand, how to meet it? How to cater this demand by the generators A and B? Of course, generator A can supply 150 megawatt, not 200 entirely, because this 150, 100 will be supplied to the local load and 50 to the remote load. It can transfer a maximum of 50 to the remote load, because the line capacity is 50 megawatt, not more than that. So 50 megawatt plus 100 comes out to be 150, and remaining 50 megawatt, so as to cater this load at B, will be supplied by the generator B. So how much is the total cost of power? 150 into 40, that comes out to be 6,000, and 80 into 50, that comes out to be 4,000. So 6,000 plus 4,000, it means it is $10,000 per hour. So can you see the difference? Can you see the effect of network congestion? Yes. The cost of power is increased from $8,000 to $10,000 per hour. Right? Coming to this technical aspect. This is a simple model how fax devices, perhaps all of you are knowing the flexible AC transmission systems. And specifically, I will talk about TCAC, thyristor controlled series capacitors. How TCACs can be used to redistribute the power, okay, over the lines. So just take this example. Total demand is 400 megawatt. Active power demand. Let us focus on this. There are two generators, generator 1 and generator 2. Generator 1 is injecting 254 megawatt, and generator 2 is injecting 146 megawatt. This is after the load flow, of course. After load flow analysis, we carry out these figures. Are you getting my point? The total load demand at 2 is 400 megawatt, and the power supply by G1 and G2 is 254 and 146. This is how the power is injected. Now, how is the power flow over the lines? This line 1-2 is carrying how much power? 300 megawatt. Line 3-1 is carrying 46, and 3-2 is carrying 100 megawatt. Can you see this?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir, but your voice is not clear, sir.
It is not clear.
No, sir.
Now,
Your,
Yes,
now
sir.
is it
Yes,
clear?
sir. Now it is clear, sir.
Okay. Well, so just look at this line 1-2. This line 1-2 is 250 megawatt. It is having a limit of 250 megawatts. And when we carry out the load flow analysis, it is seen that line 1 will carry 300 megawatt for this particular situation. Now, what will happen to this line then? Definitely, line 1, 2 will get overloaded. Okay, so 250 megawatt is actual thermal limit, and it carries 300 megawatt power flow over it. It means this line 1, 2 is getting congested. It is overloaded. And when a single line is getting overloaded, what will happen? Of course, the protection system will come into operation, the circuit breakers will be operated, and that overloaded line will be tripped. It will be isolated. And when it is isolated, the power flow over this line will be diverted over the other lines. So one stage will come, the other lines will also get overloaded, and the stage will come when the entire network will go into blackout. This is called as cascaded tripping. So entire network will go into blackout. Okay, because all lines will be isolated. So as to avoid this, of course there are other issues, other situations, load curtailment or what, load shedding, etc. So as to control. But these are not the technical solutions, as I am saying, especially in deregulated system. Okay. See, there is a load supply, generation is there, load demand is there, so definitely this load demand must be catered properly. Of course, there are security issues, but how to tackle these security issues? So if I use DCSC over here in line 2 and 3, thyristor controlled series capacitor. What exactly this DCSC does? It reduces the reactance of the entire line. DCSC, basically it is a series capacitive reactance which is controlled by firing angle, right? So this can be controlled, this reactance can be controlled, right? So when TCSC, XC is introduced in a line, it is negative, it is having negative value, negative reactance. When it is added with the inductive reactance of the line, total reactance of the line will be decreased. And when the reactance of the line is decreased, the more power flow will be to the same line. Power will be diverted over the line 3 and 2. So what happens over here? You see, you can just check. Earlier in line 1, 2, it was 300. Now here this line 3, 2 was carrying 100. Now 90 megawatt is carrying, additional power is carrying as soon as you install this DCSC over here. So total power which is flowing over this line is 190 megawatt. Okay. Now this line, after carrying out the load flow again, line 1 is taking 210 megawatt. This line is taking 44 megawatt, and this line 3-2 is taking 190 megawatt. So what will happen to this line 1-2? It is getting relieved. 250 is its thermal capacity. Capability. Okay, the line limit is 250 megawatt. Okay, for 1-2. And now, after installing this DCSC, the actual load flow over this line, it reduces to 210. Naturally, this line will get relieved out of it. Earlier it was overloaded, now it is relieved. In this way, the congestion in the line, in the network, can be removed by using the PATS devices. So what these PATS devices has done, it is just we diverted the load flow. There is diversion, redistribution of the load flow. Power generation is same, demand is also same. Only just by introducing this TCSC without using the extra line, because it is not possible to install the extra transmission line in between the two nodes or two buses. Okay, so this is how the situation can be controlled in deregulated systems, especially as regards to the network condition. Coming to this Indian power system. Hello? Hello? Quickly look at this. Please unmute your mics.
Arsh Patel, actually, can you please turn off your audio? Arsh Patel. Okay, sir.
Yes. Okay, please. So this is the Indian history of power system. Quickly, you just go through 47 fragmented small entities, 48 Electricity Act. The first act was passed by Indian Parliament in 1948. 75 central government entered into generation and transmission. Late 80s, need for restructuring was felt, like the others. In India, in fact, a small amount of generation was opened in private sectors in 91. Of course, it is you cannot say it as a deregulation. Actual deregulation started after 2003 Electricity Act, when it was passed by Parliament. Okay, so these are some milestones in Indian power system restructuring. Well, only 2 minutes are left. Well, these are some important features. Restructuring process in 1990 by Orissa, followed by AP, Haryana, etc., etc. Right. So this is the need, concluding. Deregulation is the need of power to meet the changing scenario, changing needs of the power consumers. It is essential to bridge the supply-demand gap. Planning and controlling of the transmission is the most complex issue, and that has to be controlled by these technical people like us. Okay. Initial stage of power restructuring, transmission company has to operate in monopoly. Of course, now it is removed. The role of ISO is very important. IoT and AI will be very helpful in tackling the various issues. Thank you very much for being with me. So, coming to the end, thank you so much for patience. About 2 questions.
Sir, good afternoon, sir.
Yes, please.
Sir, restructuring of power system, how to find out for the tariff, sir?
How to find out the tariffs?
Yes, depending upon the customers. Nowadays it is fixed, sir. Domestic customer it is fixed. Other
Yes.
customer changes, but domestic customer all over. Suppose I mean Tamil Nadu. In all over Tamil Nadu it is fixed. But
Yes.
restructuring the power system, generating station one place and load center is away from the generating station mean loss it will be increased. At that time, how to fix the tariff for the particular customer? Each and every customer, the tariff it will be changes.
Yes. Again, it is it's a matter of what analysis, because ISO, as I said, ISO is an independent system operator. ISO has to carry out the various issues. For example, all the time, it's a very simple mathematics that whenever there is a supply, I mean, whenever there is a gap between supply and demand, the prices vary. Prices start vary. Just take any commodity. Till now, till deregulation, electricity was not seen as the commodity. But after deregulation, electricity is also looked out as an essential commodity, right? So take an example of our essential commodities. Just say tomatoes, for example, or onions. Take an example of onions. Whenever there is huge production of onions and there is no demand to the onions, what would happen to the cost of or prices of onions? Definitely the prices will be down because production is more and demand is less. If reverse is the situation, whenever there is huge demand for onions and there is very less production of the onions, what will happen to the cost of onions? Definitely the prices of onions will go up. In this way, in a similar way, the prices of electricity also vary. Probably you might be knowing that ABT based, availability based tariffs, ABT concept, probably you might be knowing that during peak hours, that means when from 6 evening to 10 evening, 6 to 10, we used to call it as the peak hour, right? So during peak hours, the demand of electricity is very high. Hence, many of the electricity boards control, they charge electricity for this particular hour. Higher rates are charged for the electricity which is being used during the peak hours. Are you getting my point? Similarly, whenever there are less demand hours, the electricity charges are less. This is in fact tariffs, as your question was related. I'm coming to the same, the basic question, that how these tariffs are controlled. So it is entirely controlled by the ISOs, right?
So my question, per day it will be changes for the tariff. Tariff it will be calculated for peak hours and not peak hours for the particular days, or fixed for the particular week or fixed for the particular month.
Yes, for a particular month, right? No. It entirely depends upon the policy makers, that they declare the rates for a particular duration, for a particular month, or for a particular year. It entirely depends. It entirely depends on the policy makers. For example, you are in Tamil Nadu. So Tamil Nadu controlling authority, tariff controlling authority, will have to decide the rates for the entire month, or for the entire year, or for the entire duration of 24-hour load cycle, right? So for it, of course, it depends on government to governments. For example, if you talk about our state, we have in Maharashtra, we have a separate controlling board. That controlling board has to decide these tariffs. Yes.
Okay.
Please. Next.
Okay, sir.
Thank you. Any other question?
Hello, sir.
Yes, please.
Suppose 2-3 states having the surplus power. Suppose Odisha and Tamil Nadu and Karnataka having sufficient power.
Yeah.
But Delhi want to purchase that power.
Right.
The cost of price is, suppose Karnataka is less,
Yes.
but the transmission loss is more. Then how it is transmitted, sir? If we consider the transmission loss parameters.
Yes, that is what the beauty of deregulated system. Even if the prices are less at say Odisha, and the Odisha has to transmit the power. Suppose there are 3 states, Karnataka, Odisha, and say Andhra Pradesh. These
Yes, sir.
three states have different prices of electricity, right? And suppose Odisha has to supply. Odisha is the minimum one, and Odisha can supply the power to Delhi, right, over the transmission network. Of course, entire things are calculated. Whether, I mean, the transmission losses, they are also taken into consideration. How much power is lost during the transmission, that is also taken into consideration. And even if the power transfer is reasonable, then definitely the Orissa will get an opportunity to transmit the power. So it entirely depends upon the other factors as well. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. This type of models, they are coming up. In fact, we are on the verge of complete deregulation. We are not entirely deregulated. Our Indian electricity boards are not completely deregulated. But definitely within few years or so, the things will be cleared and various models. Now, as of if you look at the world scenario, there are various ISO models, California market, then Pennsylvania market, UK market, and so on. Okay, various markets are there, which any one of them will be. Yeah. Yes, please. Are there any restrictions in terms of modes of generation instead of capacity regulation? No. In generation, there is no restriction as such. Because more focus will be given upon the renewable energy generation, and our government is also encouraging to use the renewable sources. So as far as renewable generation is concerned, there is no any restriction. Anything else?
Yes, if you have any questions, please ask to our resource person.
I think another next resource person is in line, Professor
Okay.
Bedecker.
Okay, so I invite Zole sir.
You can note my
give-
mail ID, please. You can drop a mail to me for any further queries. And all the participants to be with me. Please, you can note my mail ID. I just write in the chat box.